They tell us the truth is unknowable, that the evidence is circumstantial, that unidentified, anomalous objects are simply misidentified weather or conventional aircraft. But in the deepest, most secure archives of the American government, the true account of contact was written, signed, and immediately buried. In the summer of 1947, following catastrophic incidents in New Mexico, crashes of mysterious craft across the state, including Roswell, had occurred. A special panel delivered a top-secret intelligence review of the incidents. Report to the President 1947 stamped "Magic Eyes Only." This report was the culmination of a 2-month exploratory mission, reviewing approximately 1,200 memoranda and intelligence reports. The advisory panel in the review was composed of figures from the state, Treasury, War, and Navy departments. They determined unequivocally that no country on Earth possessed the technical, financial, or security resources necessary to produce the long-range flight capabilities observed from these downed craft. The recovered craft was the tame side of the findings. Actual bodies of alien beings were found among the debris. Initial autopsies on the recovered entities, detailed in the reports, classified them as human or human-like, beings that share the same biological needs as humans. The ultimate intelligence conclusion was reached. The sightings in recovered objects are interplanetary in nature, and this was deemed a military crisis. These findings were the genesis of America's most profound secrets. The panic was not just about discovery, it was about the military paralysis. The Joint Chiefs assessed the situation and concluded that they were unable to form a defense plan. The unknown visitors demonstrated the capacity to penetrate U.S. airspace and jam critical systems at will. We were effectively defenseless. The response to these alien incursions was the formation of the MAJESTIC 12 group. MJ-12 was established by a special executive order dated September 24, 1947, and given powers of authority by the National Security Council, with classification ratings of Magic Eyes Only for relevant documents. Its security classification status was immediately declared to exceed that of the hydrogen bomb development. Magic's mandate was deemed a strategic necessity and operated on a policy of strict denial. This denial wasn't passive. It required an interactive program of controlled releases to the media, intended specifically to discredit any civilian investigation. The official cover story used to obfuscate the New Mexico incidents was Project Mogul, a top-secret U.S. Army Air Force's high-altitude balloon program designed to detect Soviet atomic tests. The lie was simple and effective. Even today, official reports systematically attribute the recovered debris and alleged alien bodies to Mogul equipment and anthropomorphic test dummies planted in the balloons. Purposeful conflating of the 1947 event with later military accidents preserves the deep classification firewalls. Despite the denial, the intelligence community's own lexicon betrays the truth of the phenomenon that they are publicly debunking. NSA indices internally classified the threat using terms like extraterrestrial biological entity and interdimensional craft. These adversaries are not unknown, they are unconventional. Just about as unconventional as you're gonna get. Though the true goal of MAJESTIC remained total and complete cover-up, these black programs shifted gears from defense to exploitation. The race to engineer new tech based on these crashed objects had begun. The classified program to reverse engineer the recovered wreckage was known as the ULOT Exploitation Program, Unidentified Lenticular Aerodyne Technology Transfer. The materials were collected from multiple crash sites during this post-war period and certainly continue to this day. The technical findings from the recovered craft constituted enormous leaps for American defense science. Detailed examination of the recovered platforms revealed a complete absence of conventional flight controls and systems. No wiring, no fuel systems, no cables, no motors, hydraulics, intakes, or exhaust. This structural assessment seemed to confirm that the vehicle was specifically designed to travel outside of our atmosphere. At the very least, it was beyond anything we had seen. The technological centerpiece of the craft was the propulsion system. What remained of the power plant was examined and determined to be a magnetic drive propulsion, powered by a fusion reactor of sorts. Reverse engineering efforts began immediately, centered at facilities like Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Langley. Decades later, specialized programs continue to study technologies such as advanced magnetohydrodynamic drive technology that utilize these principles. These are some of the fruits of this reverse engineering effort. The transfer of knowledge was rapid. These downed objects are supposedly the origin of our discovery of semiconductor circuitry and fiber optics. The use of microcircuitry found on the recovered platform directly informed the goals of the Atomic Energy Commission for atomic bomb component miniaturization. The structural materials compelled Air Material Command to launch research programs in 1948, focusing on new alloys and composites. These were essential for achieving space exploration and hypersonic dynamics, and led to new machining techniques for high-temperature alloys and titanium. This reverse engineering and knowledge goal was formalized in theoretical military publications, such as the ULOT Exploitation Majestic Series 5, Hypersonic Small Disturbance Theory. New fuels and electrogravitics were expected to lead to the development of super aircraft, with Mach 5 capabilities and atomic engines that would grant unlimited range. The recovery of the platforms provided a technical shortcut to critical Cold War objectives, and were seen as the single greatest resource for gaining an edge against the Soviets. But deep in the shadows of the Majestic archive, classified even more heavily than the tech, lay the recovered biologics, the truth of which exposed the human race to a threat more lethal than any nuclear weapon. The recovery mission found 5 non-human bodies. 2 were found in a severely damaged escape cylinder, and 3 others were found some distance away from the wreckage. All 5 appeared to have suffered from sudden decompression and heat suffocation. The recovery and initial autopsies of the occupants were detailed in a separate dedicated study called Gray Suit within the ULOT Exploitation Majestic Series 4. The alien bodies were immediately classified as a biological hazard. The most alarming finding was the acute biological danger experienced by the recovery teams. 4 specialized engineering detachment personnel suffered fatal contamination upon coming into contact with the beings. The internal records detail the horror. 1 technician collapsed upon attempting to remove a body. Another medical technician went into a coma 4 hours after securing an entity in a rubber body bag. All 4 SED personnel, despite wearing protective suits, subsequently died of seizures and profuse bleeding. The investigation into the deaths yielded another prize for these military programs, a pathogen derived from the bodies that yielded new strains of retrovirus not fully understood. This material, secured and housed at Fort Detrick, Maryland, held the promise of the ultimate bioweapon. The intelligence community immediately linked the discovery of this retrovirus to existing biological warfare programs in the US and UK, and to genetic and pharmaceutical R&D programs attempting to exploit the unique genetic material. The documents detail a fear of defensive failure. Senior Army medical officers assessed current medical equipment and supplies, including the facilities at Los Alamos and the Mayo Clinic, to be wholly inadequate in dealing with any significant outbreak of the alien virus. The policy of cover-up and strict denial instituted in 1947 didn't end with the Cold War. It matured into sophisticated, targeted psychological operations designed to weaponize the leaks the government knew they would have against themselves, a complex web of mixing fact and fiction. A key operative in this modern phase of concealment was Richard Doty, a former special agent for the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations assigned to Kirtland Air Force Base in the 1980s. Doty's job was to protect highly sensitive U.S. terrestrial programs, specifically the development of stealth aircraft and advanced drones, by shrouding them in disinformation. His work was the tactical execution of the Magic Directive, to use controlled releases to discredit any civilian investigation. Doty confessed to giving UFO researchers bad information, confirming his role as a disinformer, using real accounts of EBE recovery and crashed saucers as bait. The most devastating operation was against civilian engineer Paul Benowitz, known as Project Beta. Benowitz had successfully intercepted classified military transmissions near Kirtland, correctly identifying highly sensitive U.S. drone programs. Doty and other agencies, reportedly including the NSA, CIA, and DIA, deliberately misled Benowitz, convincing him he was communicating with hostile aliens. This operation replaced verifiable military truth with manufactured fantasy. The constant targeted influx of false EBE data led directly to Benowitz's severe mental and emotional deterioration, culminating in his institutionalization in 1988. These projects chose to use psychological warfare to destroy a citizen's mind over his observations of craft and phenomenon. This shows the extreme sensitivity of the secrets protected and the lengths they will go to in order to cover it up or poison the information well. The MJ-12 documents have been the source of many well-poisoning attempts. The circulation of documents and fabricated stories by agents like Doty are attempts to link the MJ-12 cover-up to conspiracy and hoax, using the same old-tired tactics to protect high-value assets and programs. A trove of documents is available for those who are willing to dig. Just don't expect one of the designated experts to validate them on the evening news. Containing the bio-threat required physical firewalls. Containing the truth requires psychological warfare on the populace. Majestic 12 utilized the expertise of paperclip specialists to advance new weapons research, specifically in the domains of chemical agents and mind control. This created the framework for the coercive manipulation of witnesses and the public. Interrogators cherry-picked interviews with selected witnesses, and military personnel were involved in the removal of evidence. The system was designed to protect not just alien secrets, but what the powers that be call the fragile public mind. The phenomenon of memory erasure or manipulation, where individuals lose hours or days surrounding an alien encounter, is a recognized occurrence in the classified domain, indexed by the National Security Agency under the term missing time. This effect of missing time and the amnesiac effect when interacting with alien beings was a focus of these classified projects. They wanted this technology for themselves, for use on the general public. The Majestic Committee acknowledged the conflict between its operational necessity and foundational legal principles. They knew what they were doing was illegal under constitutional law. Discussions among the members of Majestic 12 determined that the protection of individual rights, as defined under the Constitution, was outweighed by the nature of the threat. The panel noted that only a formal declaration of war or a national emergency would legally grant them the power to execute martial law and rescind individual rights. The use of denial, interrogations, psychological manipulation of witnesses, and fundamental constitutional violations for over half a century demonstrates that Majestic leadership views the non-human threat as a perpetual, undeclared national emergency. Our rights are being routinely violated by programs that are illegal and completely off reservation with no oversight. What may have started as operational security has morphed into a significant threat to we the people. The investigation transcended military and scientific boundaries, venturing into the metaphysical. The impossible flight dynamics and the object's ability to manipulate space and time force analysts to consider origins beyond conventional extraterrestrial travel, including the interdimensional hypothesis. This hypothesis lends credence to the idea that their origin is not from a distant star system, but from an alternative dimension or a hidden terrestrial location, echoing ancient myths of inner-earth beings. Some would even venture as far as referring to these creatures as demons. You might understand why, when claims of alien abductions worldwide consistently describe nightmarish non-consensual medical procedures, often centered on the subject's reproductive systems. The individuals involved in these abductions display physiological markers of severe trauma during recall, comparable to combat veterans, confirming the traumatic reality of the encounter. regardless of its ultimate physical origin. The intelligence community recognized the chilling overlap between these entities' behavior, particularly their capacity for incitement of disorder, chaos, and terror, and the classical theological definition of malevolent non-terrestrial entities, often classified as demonic. The Majestic Panel determined that disclosure would lead to severe ravaging of the social order and substantial damage to the religious dogma of Earth without end. The predicted outcomes included insecurity, mistrust, and the undermining of popular support for the government. This led to an extraordinary policy of theological containment. The Magic Report confirms that Cardinal Francis Spellman met with the Secretary of War on June 29, 1947, offering consultation and recommendations during the initial crisis. The CIA acknowledged the affinity between paraphysical phenomenon and the religious experience, noting that theologians were best suited for such tasks. The Catholic Church and other religious leaders contributed to the burying of this information out of fear of what it would do to the faith of their followers. The psyop and containment angles of this information go on and on without end. Organizations like Project Blue Book's purpose was sustained denial. This project was often criticized internally for its emphasis on debunking and concluding that nothing had been proved to be of extraterrestrial origin. It only confirms the operational success of the deep security firewalls established decades earlier. Like it or not, the visitors are here. They are technologically superior. They are utilizing us as a resource, biologically and genetically. And the government has decided unilaterally that the core secrets derived from this contact, the energy and propulsion systems, the lethal retroviruses, the memory and medical technology, and the override of our constitutional rights, are too dangerous for public consumption. You were never meant to know. Thank you for watching. Please like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.